Hello everyone, today we are unraveling the darkest, most tightly guarded secret of China's first emperor, a silence written into every palace wall, every imperial edict, and even the vast tomb complex that houses his terracotta army. Qin Shi Huang, the ruler who unified 6 warring states, standardized writing currency weights and measures, built the Great Wall, and named himself the first and only emperor under heaven, never once took an empress. He filled his palaces with thousands of women from conquered kingdoms, fathered more than 30 children, and ruled with absolute authority for over 3 decades. Yet no woman ever held the title of empress. No woman stood beside him as the symbolic mother of the empire, and no empress tomb was ever constructed alongside his mausoleum. This is not an oversight, not a missed detail, and not a gap in historical records. It is a deliberate, calculated, and deeply personal decision, shaped by childhood trauma, political terror, institutional design, and a godlike self-image that brooked no equal. To understand this choice is to understand the soul of the Qin Empire, and the broken, ruthless man who built it. Let us start at the very beginning, with the trauma that poisoned Qin Shi Huang's view of women forever. His mother, Zhao. Born in Zhao state as a hostage, Prince Yingzheng, later Qin Shi Huang, endured a childhood of fear, humiliation, and abandonment. His mother was once a concubine of the shrewd merchant Liv Buwei, who gave her to Zichu, a minor Qin prince, stranded in Zhao. After Zichu became King Zhuangxiang of Qin and died, young Zhao was left as the queen dowager, ruling alongside Liv Buwei, while Yingzheng was still a child. What followed was a scandal that shook the Qin court to its core and destroyed any trust Yingzheng had in maternal love or female loyalty. Zhao began a secret affair with Lao Ai, a man disguised as a eunuch, and gave birth to 2 illegitimate sons, far from the court's gaze. Lao Ai did not stop at seduction. He amassed a powerful faction of officials, soldiers, and nobles, referred to himself as the emperor's false father, and plotted a violent coup to kill Yingzheng and place his own son on the Qin throne. In 238 BCE, when Yingzheng was just 22 years old, and traveling to Yong City for his coming-of-age coronation, Lao Ai used the Queen Dowager's seal to raise troops and attack the palace, where the young emperor stayed. The rebellion was crushed quickly, but the damage to Yingzheng's psyche was irreversible. He ordered Lao Ai torn apart by 5 horses, his entire clan exterminated, and his 2 young half-brothers, innocent children, sealed in sacks and beaten to death before his mother's eyes. Zhao was stripped of her title, exiled to a remote palace, and publicly disowned. Though later advisors forced Yingzheng to bring her back to avoid losing the support of other states, the bond between mother and son was permanently shattered. This betrayal was not just personal. It was political. Yingzheng learned a brutal lesson: women with power, especially women connected to the imperial family, could ally with warlords, corrupt officials, and rival clans to destroy the throne itself. His hatred for his mother curdled into a universal distrust of all women. He saw the concubines from conquered states as disloyal opportunists who had abandoned their fallen kings to serve him, unworthy of the honor and authority of an empress. For the rest of his life, he refused to let any woman gain enough status to threaten his rule, turning his private pain into a foundational policy of the Qin Empire. The second layer of this decision is called uncompromising political calculus, the fear of Waiqi, power, a poison that had crippled ancient Chinese dynasties for centuries. Long before Qin Shi Huang unified China, royal wives and their families had repeatedly seized control of weak kings, plunged realms into civil war, and destroyed centralized power. Qin itself had suffered deeply from Chu-aligned Waiqi groups, led by grand dowagers, who manipulated young rulers and controlled court decisions. Qin Shi Huang's entire political project was built on one core principle: absolute, unshared power, concentrated solely in the emperor's hands. He abolished feudal lords, divided the empire into commanderies and counties, ruled by appointed officials, and enforced strict legalist laws that punished any challenge to imperial authority. An empress was never just a wife. She was the head of a powerful political network. Her father, brothers, uncles, and cousins would demand high offices, military commands, and vast wealth. They would form factions, rival the emperor's authority, and split the court into warring camps. Qin Shi Huang had seen this danger firsthand with his mother's faction, and he refused to let it happen again. By leaving the emperor's position empty, he eliminated the single greatest threat to his centralized rule. No empress meant no Waiqi clan to challenge him, no hidden power center in the harem, and no chance that a future heir would be manipulated by his mother's family. Every concubine in his palaces held a low, fixed rank, lady beauty, talented woman, and so on, with no woman allowed to rise above the others. This deliberate fragmentation of harem power ensured that no single woman could gather enough influence to threaten the throne. It was a ruthless but effective safeguard for the autocratic system he had built. Third, we must confront a critical institutional fact that most popular accounts ignore. The Qin Empire simply did not have a formal legal system for an empress. When Ying Zheng declared himself Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor in 221 BCE, he invented a brand new title that combined Huang from the 3 sage emperors and Di from the 5 legendary rulers, signaling that he was greater than all previous rulers combined. He overhauled nearly every system of government, law, military, economy, culture, and ritual. Yet, he never created an official rank of empress to match his new imperial title. The Qin Harem system used old pre-imperial ranks that topped out at lady, with no higher position for a primary wife. The formal empress system, with official seals, rituals, and legal status, was not created until the early Han Dynasty, decades after Qin Shi Huang's death. This institutional gap is not an accident. Qin Shi Huang did not want to create a position that could legitimately challenge his supremacy. A formal empress would have her own court, her own staff, her own income, and her own ceremonial role, all of which would create a parallel center of power. By leaving the position uncreated and undefined, he maintained total control over the harem and prevented any woman from gaining legal or ritual equality with him. His empire was a one-man show, and he designed every institution to reflect that reality. The fourth and final pillar of this choice is Qin Shi Huang's obsessive quest for immortality, which warped his view of earthly life and relationships. In his later years, the emperor became consumed by fear of death. He traveled across the empire, searching for magicians, alchemists, and mythical islands where immortality elixirs were said to exist. He spent staggering amounts of wealth on experiments, sent thousands of men to sea to find the legendary Mount Penglai, and executed anyone who failed to produce a potion that would let him live forever. In his mind, he was not merely a human ruler. He was a semi-divine figure destined to rule forever. An empress was a mortal spouse, bound to earthly traditions of family inheritance and succession, all things he rejected as he chased eternal life. He saw his empire as a permanent, God-given domain, not a temporary realm to pass to his children. Marriage and heirs became secondary to his single-minded pursuit of immortality. Why crown an empress to secure the succession when he planned to rule for eternity? Why share his divine throne with a mortal woman when he was on the verge of transcending death itself? This obsession did not just distract him from harem affairs. It made the entire idea of an empress seem trivial, even blasphemous, against his goal of becoming a god emperor. Taken together, these 4 forces, unhealed childhood trauma from his mother's betrayal, paranoia about Qi, power, intentional, institutional design that excluded an empress, and a divine self-image tied to immortality, created a perfect storm that left the Qin throne without an empress for all of Qin Shi Huang's reign. This choice shaped the Qin Empire in ways few historians fully appreciate. It left the succession unclear, with no empress to guide a crown prince or stabilize the court after the emperor's death. It contributed to the chaos that followed Qin Shi Huang's sudden death in 210 BCE, when Li Si and Zhao Gao forged a decree to kill the rightful heir, Fusu, and put the weak Hu Hai on the throne, leading to the rapid collapse of the Qin dynasty. It also revealed the central contradiction of Qin Shi Huang's rule. He built a system of absolute power to control everyone and everything around him, yet he was trapped by his own trauma, paranoia, and hubris. He could conquer kingdoms, build monumental structures, and rewrite history, but he could not heal the wound his mother had inflicted, nor could he accept any person, man or woman, as his equal. This mystery of the missing empress is more than a footnote in history. It is a window into the heart of one of the most powerful, complex, and terrifying rulers who ever lived. Qin Shi Huang refusal to take an empress was not a random choice or a minor oversight. It was the ultimate expression of his loneliness, his fear, and his unquenchable hunger for absolute control. He built an empire that stood as a monument to his power, but he lived his life as a man isolated by his own pain, surrounded by thousands of people, yet utterly alone. The empty throne of the Qin Empress remains a silent testament to the cost of absolute power and the scars that even the greatest emperors cannot outrun. If you enjoyed this journey into ancient China, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more epic history. See you next time.